Well, hello everyone. Welcome back to my channel and welcome back to Prehistoric Kingdom Early Access. My name is Swoop there, and today's episode is a quick tutorial on how to build a perfectly round structure. I had lots of questions on my last build and a few people in Discord asking me to share my process. Now, I'd like to please let people bear in mind that my way is not necessarily the right way, nor is it the most efficient way, but this is the way that I like to do it when I'm building off-grid. So some of the pieces are on-grid, but then the actual building itself is off-grid. So I'll show you the process that I took when building my Dilophosaurus habitat, which I'll link in the notes below and also in the corner here. So let's get on with it. Okay, so the first thing we want to do is we want to grab a wall piece. So let's just grab a 4x4 wall piece and check that we have the grid turned on, which we do. We are going to have glass on the inside and then wood on the outside. So we want to make sure we have our 90-degree angle snap on, so when we're flipping the wall using Z, it will just flip all the way around. I would like it to be facing this way, and just double check that it is sitting on the inside of the line, not the outside. So you can see there, I've got one on the outside now, and then this one's over the top of the one that is on the inside. So we've got that one on the inside. Now we want to grab a different type of material here. I'm going to go with wood, and then instead of sitting it on the outside, we want that on the inside. So that one's on the inside there, and you can see I've got two squares in between both walls, or two 4x4 grid squares. Now let's chuck in a floor. So we'll go with a concrete floor, and we want to change the grid down to 1 meter, so we can have just a little bit of overhang on the outside, 1 meter on the outside and 1 meter on the inside. Just makes it look a little bit more realistic. Your building is actually sitting on a foundation rather than, you know, it's sitting on nothing and the floor is just on the inside. So that's how I like to build my buildings. Now, this is basically all you need to create a perfect circular structure. However, we're going to make ours look slightly more interesting. The first thing we want to do is copy this around. So make sure we have 90-degree angle snap on, and we're going to flip it around first, like so. And then we're going to move it out kind of as wide as we want our building to be. So let's say we kind of want our building to be not too big. This part's going to be the interior inside here, and that I'm kind of happy with that, so I'm just going to let that drop down there. The next thing that I want to do is, if we copy this around now, it's just going to be a boring wooden wall, and I'd like it to be slightly more interesting. So let's add a beam onto the edge of our building. Now you can add any kind of beam you want. You can add a wooden beam like this, or you can add, I guess, the more modern wooden beams like this one. I'm going to go with a black metal beam because we're going for slightly more modern looking building just here. Now what I want to do is I want to move it a little bit closer using V. I can use my tools to just move it slightly closer. And then I want to make it slightly wider so it's visible from both the inside and the outside of the building. And there we go. I'm happy with that. Now I'm going to press V and create another one and move that over to the outside of the other wall. Now the reason I didn't do this first is because it's impossible to copy these over and make them flip 90 degrees exactly when these beams are attached, and I'm not entirely sure why, but that's fine. I've figured out a workaround, so there we go. Now we've popped these on and they're exactly opposite each other. We want to select everything that we've built. So I'm going to select both walls and both beams. And now that I have that, make sure we have 90-degree angle snap on and press Ctrl V. Click on your rotation tool and rotate once. So you have these wall pieces and beam pieces at north, east, south and west for your building. Then you want to select everything, all your beam pieces and all your wall pieces. Click back onto your toolbox and drag your angle snap down to 5% and then press Ctrl V again. Now when you move it, you can see that they only move a small amount. So we're going to move ours out twice here. And you can see that the beams cover the connection point between the two wall pieces, which makes it look much better and a little bit more interesting. So we just copy these all the way until all the gaps are filled. Like so. And there you have it. You have a perfect circular building. Now you can delete out parts of the wall if you want to have an entrance. So let's say we wanted our entrance to be here. I might just delete parts of this wall, like so. There. And there we have it, and then that could be the entrance. You might build a building on the outside here. You also could potentially delete all these interior windows. Now I know that these overlap, and there are, if you make your building further apart or wider, then this overlap will get smaller and smaller. The further apart it is, the more chance there is that there will be a gap in between those, so you need to be quite precise. You can also delete all of these interior windows and make it just an entrance building or something where guests can walk throughout the whole inside space. It doesn't have to necessarily be a habitat. However, you know, it's up to you what you do with your buildings. So now I'm going to show you how I would create a roof for this particular building. Alright, so the first thing you want to do when creating a circular roof is decide on the roof piece that you're after. I'm going to go with a 4x1 slanted roof, and what I need to do is make sure that it's attached initially to one of these pieces so that I can add it to the grid. So I'm going to attach it to this one, and I'm just going to turn it around and raise it exactly where I need it to be. Make sure that you have your height, your grid height on 0 for this. Then what you want to do is flip that around with X and bring that exactly opposite. Now I've got a gap in the middle, but that's okay. I'm going to add a flat piece in the middle here. So let's grab a flat piece of roof and then raise it up to exactly where we want it to be. So kind of like that, I guess. And then make sure that you've chosen a roof that you think looks nice with your structure. So I'm quite happy with this, and then I'm going to change the color from like sort of silver to a darker black. There we go, happy with that. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to copy one piece over to the exact opposite side, and then it's basically the same process as we used for the walls. So we'll need to split this from the group now. So split it so it's in its own group, and then move it over using Control V, straight over to the opposite side. Like so. And now when we select both roof pieces and we Control V, make sure that we have angle snap on 90 so that we can move them around to exact opposite sides, north, south, east and west. And then we want to select all those pieces and do exactly what we did with the wall pieces before. Drag angle snap down to 5 degrees and then copy those roof pieces around. And there you have a perfectly circular structure, which your guests can get in and out of. If you're not happy with the Z-fighting, you can spend some time making this middle piece, I guess, stretched so that it doesn't cover both sides of the floor, and then you won't have that Z-fighting happening. It's hard to avoid Z-fighting with the roof. You can if you're very particular about the, I guess, the distance of the two interior pieces, but I tend to not be worried too much about the roof. It's not often looked at. And that is how I created the perfect circular structure. And then you can decide what you want to do on the inside. So you might decide to put some water on this side so that whoever's sort of looking from this side can look in and they're looking over some water. You might pop some trees in. You might just select two kinds of trees and just, you know, pop them in like that. It would be a very good entrance building. I'm going to use something similar to this for my next park. So that's a little Easter egg. And that, my friends, is how I created this perfectly round Dilophosaurus habitat. I thought I would just do a few little flyovers for you. Yes, I realise these are Dryosaurus, not Dilophosaurus, I just thought I'd pop some dinosaurs in so that it didn't look super boring. But as soon as we have the Dilophosaurus, they'll be going into this habitat. And this is just a little ending just so that you guys can get an idea of how I decorated it. Here is the background or the backstage buildings in this shot, just to give you guys an idea of what it looks like from both the viewing area and from, I guess, these flyovers and when there is forest all around it. So I hope you found this video helpful. If you did, please give it a like and subscribe if you aren't already subscribed. It really does help out a small creator. And as always, guys, I'll see you in the next one. Take care. Bye.